Stalking the Wild Auto Harp. Hi everybody, I'm Hal Weeks. Welcome to Stalking the Wild Auto Harp. And today we're going to have all kinds of fun talking about why should I learn to read music? Ugh. Well, stick around for this one, folks, because it's one of those don't get me started subjects, because I personally don't believe that you have to learn to read music, and I have taught many a student who doesn't read music and it works out okay. But I also feel like you should learn to read music if you don't already, because it helps so much, and I'm going to talk a little bit about all of that. But also stick around for the end, because then I'm going to talk about some of the dangers about music. Learning to read music is very dangerous and can be overdone in our musical experience. So I'm going to talk about that down at the end somewhere. So stick around for that. Okay, learning to read music. Music is a language. English is a language. And I don't have to learn to read English in order to speak English and talk to you. So we can communicate back and forth without having to read and write. Agreed. However, let's say you want to learn something. Let's say you want to learn history. History is so yesterday. Well, it's true. If you want to learn history, but you don't know how to read, and you don't want to learn how to read, but you want to learn history, then, okay, I'm just going to go on YouTube and sit there and listen to lectures, okay? And then, in order to remember it, I'll just write some notes. See, you can't write notes, because you don't know how to read, and so you don't know how to write. And so you can't make notes, so how are you going to remember it? Oh, I'm just going to remember it. I have a really good ear. See, this is the other thing. People who don't want to learn to read and write music say, I just want to learn everything by ear. It's like, okay, do you have a really good ear? Because you're going to need it. Let me tell you, learning ear training, learning how to hear something and know exactly what you're hearing, and then reproduce it on your instrument, that can take years, decades to get a good ear. And if you don't have one, if you don't have a good ear, and you don't know how to read music, and you don't know how to write music, yeah, how's that going for you? Because basically you're saying, I want to learn music, but don't teach me anything, okay? Really don't. I don't want to learn anything. I just want to learn. I just want to learn how to do it, but I don't really want to do the work. So, learning to read music is a great shortcut. Now, I knew somebody who didn't read music, but they would keep auto harp notes for themselves by making little circles and numbering the circles, and those circles represented the buttons that he would push in order to play a tune and bring a tune out. Great. It works for him. But try to pass that to somebody else. See, it's about communication here. You try to pass that to somebody else and they're going to go, oh, it's a bunch of arcane symbols on a page. I don't want to learn that. That's a version, what he's got there is a version of what's called tabulature. Okay? And tabulature is a separate issue because it's not traditional music notation. But it's also, it's not, I mean, it's a way of writing things down, okay? And it might speak to the person who reads it, but it doesn't speak to everybody. Music notation is more universal. And so if you're going to learn a system of arcane notation and symbols on a page, hey, that's music. That's alphabet letters. That's reading, whether you're reading English or Spanish or you're reading music, it's a bunch of symbols on a page that can then mean something, and I can communicate something to you via this language that's really about a language. So That's one reason why you might want to learn, to avoid having to learn things by ear when your ear isn't that good, to help you remember things. And also, like I said, it's about learning. How are you going to learn if I can't communicate with you? Well, yeah, okay, I can show you, but how are you going to remember it? If I showed it to you and then you go away, how are you going to remember it? So music reading is a way of, it's music memory. It's a way of helping you to recall something. And I know that as we get older, memory becomes an issue. So it helps us to remember how the tune goes. It helps us to remember how to produce the tune if we are reading from music. So that can all be reasons for wanting to learn how to read music. Yeah, and I realize that there is a learning curve, just like there is with so many other things. But hey, here's a good thing about this learning curve. It's not in the computer. Learning to read and write music doesn't have to be like learning software. So much that we learn these days is about computers. How this kind of software works, how that kind of software works, how to set up our website, how to record this, how to, it goes on and on and on and on. But learning music can all be about pen and paper, which is, remember those? Pen and pencil and paper, and yeah. So it's kind of fun to write these things down and read them, especially if you have the ability to write it down. And by the way, when I'm talking about learning to write music, I'm not talking about composing. I'm just talking about making some notes to help you remember. Okay? And also, I'm not asking for you to learn to read complicated scores, or complex piano etudes or orchestral scores. I'm not asking that. I'm just talking about a simple melody line with simple rhythms, usually nothing over 16th notes in speed, and some chord changes. Treble clef, one line. That's all that you need to be able to read in order to play the auto harp. Okay? So let's mitigate this and make it understandable, the level of music reading that I'm talking about. I said I was going to talk about the dangers of music, okay? The main danger, I think, of using music, and by the way, let me mention right up front, I prefer working without music notation. When I learn tunes, when I learn songs, I prefer not to use it, and I didn't use it for years. When I'm learning a tune, like a melody, like a fiddle tune, and I don't know it very well, I will go and I will look up the melody for it. And I will use that for a little while to get it in my ear and get it in my fingers, and then I'll put it away. Here is the danger of music notation, is when you don't put it away. And I understand that as we get older, we need the memory helps. So you have to take this with a grain of salt. This is just where I'm at and what I have done. And as I get older, this might even change. I like to learn the basics. I use it as a skeleton, and that is all. Some people want to use it and can't get along without it. Even brilliant classical musicians, I would say especially brilliant classical musicians, can't function without music. If you ask them, hey, my kid's birthday, can you use our piano here and play Happy Birthday to You? And they go, it's true. They are not trained to work without music. I mean, unless they've memorized the piece, but they have learned it from the music. So I'm not talking about reading music to that extreme. Some people get hooked on the music. They only know the music that the teacher has handed to them in a workshop, They only know the music that came out of their books, and so their books have to go everywhere with them. They must open the books, they must work from the books. Now, if you get joy from that, then that's all that's really important. All right? But some people get stuck on the books. Another level of getting stuck is if you're working from tab that shows every single stroke that every single finger is supposed to make at every given increment of time from the beginning of song to the end of the song, then you can get stuck in literalism. It's like musical legalism, where this is law, this is gospel, this is carved in stone, and I must do it exactly this way. No. Please don't get stuck in that degree of working from music. Okay? This is why when I teach, I tend to not give out music, because people prefer to work at their own level with music. And some people want to work without it. And so I have a paradigm of teaching where I don't teach with it. Now, that's about to change, because what I have learned is that some people learn and they need to see music. And so I'm going to be introducing a line of lessons that have a print copy of what I teach in the lesson, and a video of what I teach in the lesson, and then a couple of songs that use the strum or technique that I'm teaching in the lesson applied in the song. So there will be paper copy of Stalking the Wild Auto Harp coming up. Now, I have just developed this idea. The lessons, we're still a few months out from that, but I'll be talking more about it as that comes up. The best notation, the best music notation will just show melody, perhaps some melody chords, and the best music notation for the auto harp is basically not even for the auto harp. It's just the melody and the chord changes for backup. Maybe it has the chord changes for the melody notes. Okay? You can put those in. But that's all it shows. It doesn't show every single strum. It leaves that to you so that you can make your own version of this music. So it's just a suggestion of the bare bones of the tune and the chords. So those are the inherent dangers of working with music notation. Getting stuck, not being able to leave the music or look away from the music, not being able to close your eyes while you play and play from the heart, or getting stuck in tab and getting stuck on trying to do every single change at exactly the moment that it says to. That can be really aggravating, and people don't like that very much. So if you're working from something like that to learn a strum, great, but then put it away so that you can apply it more intuitively to your playing, because that's the point of these arrangements, so that you don't have to get stuck on every single stroke. So that's what I got to say about music notation and why you might want to learn some of it. So thanks for watching Stalking the Wild Auto Harp. Remember to like and comment on this video. Remember my Patreon, which will help keep this show going. And we'll take you out with a little tequila. Bye-bye, everybody.